I graduated college debt-free, and so can you. I even finished graduate school with a savings. Welcome to Survive This Economy. Today's topic is debt-free school. My name is Nick, and I'm not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice. I did, however, start my life with no financial assistance and now have a PhD, my own company, and a savings account greater than most retirees by ethically finessing the system that tries to hold us down. First, I want to say I think college is worth it overall, even if you have to graduate with debt. It's probably cliche, but college helped shape me in more than just an academic sense. It challenged me socially, which led to new experiences and new connections that were invaluable. Despite making straight A's in high school, albeit at a small rural institution, I strongly considered going straight to starting a business or going to trade school, but personally I'm glad I didn't. I needed that push to socialize and connect to fully take advantage of what I'm capable of in this life. Over half of college students graduate with debt, and that number will only go up. Several sources state that debt is made up for by an increase in income later in life, but of course this isn't always the case. My low-income, single-parent upbringing made the decision to go to college much harder. In high school, I worked part-time my last 2 years and full-time over the summers, proudly making $10 an hour and buying my first car at 16 for $5,000 on a payment plan. This was about 2014. I saved thousands of dollars by working on my own car, but I'll save that topic for another video. Comment down below if you want to see that video sooner rather than later. Before you go to college, save as much as you can by working and decreasing living expenses. Subscribe and check out my other videos if you want more details. I applied and was accepted to a program that provides full tuition to Ivy League schools, but I didn't make it into any of the schools within the actual program. Fortunately, I lived in Georgia, which like some other states offers to fully pay tuition if you make good grades and come from a low-income background. This was called the Zell and Pell grants. I also fully took advantage of what's called the Stafford Subsidized Federal Loan, which resulted in me graduating with $19,000 in debt. I can explain. If you're about a year from college, I would highly recommend looking into finding a college advisor. There was a free one at my high school that suggested grants and helped me write application essays. If you can't find enough free money from grants, you should take very strategic approaches to getting loans and try to pay them off as early as you can. Really take the time to dig. Spending just an hour or 2 hours every day researching grants and loans for a couple weeks will save you decades of paying off high interest loans. Okay, so for my $19,000 in debt, it's been 6 years and I still haven't paid it off, despite having over 10 times that in savings. Subsidized loans are a beautiful thing. They're 0% interest, at least for me, until 6 months after you finish school, which includes graduate school. For me, my rate will be about 4% starting any day now. I'll make a longer video on this later, but I knew I could make larger returns in high-yield savings accounts or in the S&P 500 than I would with the 0% interest loan. So, some percent is better than 0%. So I maximized the amount of this loan I took. I could have paid this loan off at any time during or after college, but it was a free loan, so I kept the debt. If you want to do something like this, you better be certain you can pay it off when the loan is due. Or better yet, have the money on hand to pay it off at any time in case you misunderstood the terms of the loan. During college, I meticulously tracked how much I spent on what. At the end of every month, I entered everything I spent into a Google Sheet and made sure I was within budget. I spent a lot of time making sure I was getting good deals on things like rent and car expenses. That's the savings side. So on the revenue side, I bought, fixed, and sold cars on Craigslist, which generated about $10,000 over 4 years. One summer, I bought a used pressure washer for $100 and scoured the wealthy neighborhoods for driveways and pools to clean. I made $3,000 in 2 months. I thought I might want to go to graduate school, so for 2 summers, I worked in research labs. Usually, undergraduate students were not paid, but I was sure to negotiate to be paid by pleading my low-income background and citing that I would be a hard worker. At $10 an hour, this made me about $5,000 each summer. I promise it wasn't all success. At one point, I tried to start a kombucha brewery and lost a couple grand. I also spent dozens of hours making YouTube videos for a biotech channel that didn't make revenue until years later. But both of those endeavors were sowing seeds for the future success. I'll talk about those in a future video, so subscribe and like this video if you want to see more. Along with my grants, I graduated with $20,000 in the bank and $19,000 in 0% interest debt. I feel incredibly fortunate to not have any problematic close family members or children or elderly parents that need taken care of. I know this is not the case for everyone, but I wanted to share my story and my personal advice. Honestly, if I were to do it all over again, I would actually spend less time optimizing and more time enjoying the presence of my friends and family. Thank you for watching, and remember that empathy for your fellow man should always come before your personal finances.